What made him so great, Pedro, from your front seat, watching him work and arrive on the scene?
I think David had an aura for the big moment. I think David, I don't know if it was, the things that he had to overcome in his career and his life in general that made him so precise and so determined to get things done without fear. A lot of people will probably every once in a while have butterflies in their stomach when the big moment shows up. But it seemed like David not only was able to raise his focus a little bit more in the most difficult situations, but as you saw it for the marathon bombing, he even shocked me. Someone that really knew him and thought I knew him, but something came out of David that really made him stand out. And that was one of those moments that, to me, you can compare to one of the biggest moments in baseball or one of the most critical moments in baseball. And I never seem to have enough of, David every time the big moment called for it.
Yeah, I mean, any New York sports fan, Pedro, would say after the 9/11 bombing, Yankee or Met fan, that Mike Piazza's home run in the first game back to beat the Braves was remarkable. It was huge for the city. It was a huge moment to let everyone know that you can feel normal and be excited and enjoyable again. But that was on the field. What David did was with his mouth and his persona and his essence and his spirit. And what surprised you about that moment where he took to the microphone after the Boston Marathon bombing and said, "This is our effing city in Boston"?
You know what? David was authentically angry. When someone disrespects, a teammate or someone, or something is said the wrong way, or something disrespectful happened, but he didn't really practice for what he was going to say. It just came out of him authentically. And you could see that he was angry. And whether they were the right words or the bleep that he threw out there, I think he meant it so much, and he cared so much at that moment when he did that. And in some ways, it's like it's hard to tell what triggered David so bad that David went out there, took the microphone, didn't improvise anything. He just went out there and said what he felt in his heart. And I think that's the same way he used to play the game. When the moment called for it, he was really ready to take on the moment. And that's what he did that day. And I think that will stand taller than any number that David put up in the postseason, during the regular season, or any other moment here in Boston.
Baseball Hall of Famer Pedro Martinez here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who else from your championship seasons with Boston deserves to be in the Hall with you guys now? What do you got at me on that front, Pedro?
Well, eventually we're going to have to see, because I know some of those guys probably don't have the longevity to probably expect a Hall of Fame. But Manny has the numbers, but I just don't know because of how many times Manny was suspended for PEDs. But I have some guys around there with big numbers, but I just don't know that they have the time to actually earn a spot in the Hall of Fame away from Manny Ramirez's numbers.
What about Pedroia? What about Dustin Pedroia, Pedro?
Pee-wee could be borderline. I wish he was healthy for at least 3 more years. I don't know specifically his numbers, but I know he put up some Hall of Fame numbers when he was playing. Now, how long he did it for, it's yet to be seen. But I haven't really analyzed those numbers gone deep into that. I know Wakey had the long time, enough time to, be considered, but I don't know if the numbers are there.
What about Terry Francona, Pedro? He's been at this quite some time. What do you think about him?
You know what? Not only Terry, but also Theo. I think it's going to be mentioned sooner or later as a Hall of Fame GM. I think Francona deserved it. I think Francona has been around baseball long enough, has good enough numbers to be considered a Hall of Famer. So I wasn't really thinking about anybody else than the players. But now that you brought it, back into my memory, yes, I think they are deserving.